So, Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. This is one of the biggest honors we've ever had in the 10 plus years we've been running this website.
It's a real thrill.
Oh, that's really nice of you guys. Thank you. Where are you guys?
We're based in New York City.
You are? Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, this is. I've heard someone else, Brian J. Jones, may have been the one to say it, that this is like talking to Paul McCartney, which is absolutely true for us.
Yeah, but the trouble is that Brian never liked Paul McCartney.
Oh no! I'll have to ask him about that.
Brian just lies.
That I've heard as well, which is a really good trait for a biographer.
Yeah, great when you're writing nonfiction.
We saw the Muppet Guys Talking documentary, and we loved it. It's fantastic. It's like candy to us, that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
So thank you for putting it together. So the idea came from your wife, is that correct?
Right. Actually, she never really grew up with Muppets. She never saw the Muppet Show or anything. So she did experience evenings and times when me and the other guys got together, and so she'd never really seen this kind of an atmosphere where people were digging each other on, but still supporting each other and being sardonic with each other, but still loving each other and talking about how we all worked really, really hard, but had fun at the same time. And because of Jim, learned how to do that, always working hard and having fun, and at the same time, no jealousy, no politics, nothing. And so she'd never seen that kind of thing before, and she felt it was she just felt it was something that was important for people to see and the world to see, because people are not working that way all the time, and also we're very inclusive, and during this time in this country, certainly the idea of inclusivity and collaboration, which is what we're used to, that kind of thing is not necessarily evident today.
Yeah, not as much as it should be.
So she wanted to bring that out more.
Watching the film just really feels like hanging out with you guys for an hour.
Yeah.
Was that kind of the idea?
That's all it was. Yeah, it was just being ourselves, And you could see in the coffee break we didn't change. We were just who we were.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts, I think, where you just left all that stuff in, just everybody going to get bagels or whatever it was.
Yeah. It's just that that's who we are.
Same with the bit about Dave stammering over his line and taking 4 or 5 takes, which I don't think I've ever seen a documentary to lead that kind of thing in.
Oh, I love that. As much as I can embarrass him, the happier I am.
Yeah, as fans who know all of you guys and appreciate your work so much, it's fun to be able to have that feeling like we're right in the middle of that conversation.
Yeah, that's just us,
That's great. And so how did you decide which performers were going to sit around the table with you?
Well, really, the people who were with us longest, Billy is the exception, because he, oddly enough, after 20 years, he's a new guy.
Yeah.
But really, it was really the people who really originated the characters, and Billy originated his own characters.
Right. So now that the seal has kind of been broken for you in making this kind of project, do you think you would ever do more or release more of what you guys filmed? Maybe do a sequel?
Well, it's not my place to do that, because I don't own the characters. Disney does. And Sesame Street, that's Children's Television Workshop does. So it's really not my place to be able to do that. I don't think I would shoot another documentary. I went in thinking after shooting a dozen features, I knew what I was doing. With a documentary is an entirely different beast.
Sure.
So I probably won't do that. However, we do have about 9 hours left of footage that we haven't used, and so we're going to be culling that and kind of making it part of a bonus feature.
Oh, that's great.
That's great to hear. That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah. There's a lot there, but we just couldn't use it all,
Well, and especially to get more from Jerry, just the fact that he's not around to answer our questions anymore, I think is really important to kind of see his perspective on things as much as possible.
grateful to my wife that she pushed me, and we were able to get Jerry, and that's a huge thing.
Absolutely.
And then how much thought did you put into kind of what percentage of the film would be geared toward maybe the general audience who don't necessarily know all your names or the names of all your characters versus the longtime Muppet fans like us who are just eager for any story that we've never heard before, like any kind of behind-the-scenes info?
Yeah, we didn't really plan anything. All we did was talk. We didn't plan to do some of it for these people, some of it for those people. This is just how we are. We just did it for ourselves, and it was unusual because I think you guys know that we were interviewed individually, but we've never ever been interviewed all at once, and so we found out things about the other that we didn't know, and so we're doing it for ourselves. We have no target audience in mind.
Was there anything in retrospect after you were done filming that you wish that you had asked or brought up in conversation?
Oh boy, actually I don't think so because it's in the 9 hours.
Oh sure, yeah.
and we brought so much, but again we couldn't use all of it. But I think we pretty much asked. There may be things that the guys have asked that would want to ask, but not that I recall.
I mean, there was one thing that was asked that was not answered, which we have to ask you.
This is a burning question.
A burning question. I think everyone who sees the documentary is going to be asking you this too. Is what is the camel?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. What was it?
What is the camel?
I'm sorry, you're just breaking up. I can't understand.
I could just ask you over and over and over again until it's clear.
I'm sorry, this is a terrible phone line. I'm sorry what the problem is. I was able to understand you before. I don't know why not now.
Oh, so strange. We'll have to look into that.
The world will never know about the camel.
Well, now I can hear you.
So thank you again for making that documentary. It really is such a treat for Muppet fans like us.
Well, it's a treat for us too because as I said, we've never done this before, and I have Victoria to thank for that. Because when people work together for a long time, they don't sit around and talk and get together and talk about things. It just doesn't happen. So this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and the film covers several decades of work. Do you ever actually go back and rewatch any of the old shows or movies?
I don't. And it's not that I don't with the Muppets. I just don't do it with my own movies that I shoot. I don't go back and watch them. If Victoria wants to see something or a friend wants to, I'll join them. But that's very rare. I kind of don't,
That's fair. Well, you could take our word for it. They hold up really well.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we kind of did want to talk to you about some of the projects that you had worked on and some of the characters you helped create. So we thought we might start with Sesame Street.
Sure.
And so I know you've talked in the past about some of your favorite characters. Do you have any favorite characters that are not your own?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's, of course, Kermit the reporter. I love Kermit the reporter on Sesame Street. And I love when Jerry Nelson sang, Jerry or Jerry Theatrics, he was fantastic. He sang those Chris Surf rock and roll songs.
Yeah.
I love those. Those are some of my favorites, And I think Paris Dawn was very funny. I thought many times I liked her a lot. And then there's, Richie Hunt's Dawn music and everything else Richie did. All of us had, all of us did so many characters. Yeah, I love all the other people's characters.
That's
Not
right.
all of them, but I love some of the characters people make. There's a few that I felt okay about, but there's some that I really love. I love.
So were there ones that you really didn't love?
I don't know. There's a couple that we each have characters that we are not crazy about that didn't work. Each of us, and they're called dead Muppets. So we don't talk about the dead Muppets that much because I have my own dead Muppets that did not work, and we just left them by the wayside.
Sure, like I have written down here Harvey Kneeslapper, who you did for a while, and then had you
Again,
abandoned.
the phone is breaking up.
All right, we don't need to talk about Harvey Kneeslapper.
Yeah, the Harvey Kneeslapper I thought it was a funny idea, and then I realized
It's
he's one of the dead Muppets.
Yeah, it's funny enough for a few sketches.
It does seem like at a certain point you run out of jokes on that kind of character.
Oh my God, yeah, it's terrible.
Well, he definitely doesn't have the longevity of a Cookie Monster or a Bert.
No, there's more with those people, and also with a Bert, the longevity is there because of Ernie too, that relationship.
Mm.
That's true. Do you feel that Bert would you think he would not work well as a solo character?
No, he wouldn't work well as a solo character at all. No. Ernie might, but not as good. It's like asking Abbott and Costello would they work best solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always.
It's just not the same.
Yeah, you just want to see them together. So you've talked in the past about coming up with these biographies for your Muppet Show characters, like Miss Piggy and Fozzie. Did you ever do that with your Sesame Street characters as well? Like, does Bert have a biography?
Not a biography. I know what Bert thinks, what he likes. Cookie's biography is quite simple. It's just Cookie. I mean, he has only one obsession in life. So that's very simple. There's Grover, who's I don't have a biography for the Sesame Street characters, but I do know them very well. I know who they are inside, or feel who they are inside.
Yeah, and that really comes through in the performances.
Do you have any favorite celebrities that you had worked with on Sesame Street back in the Sesame Street days?
Well, I've been asked that before, and there's 120 celebrities, and there are some, unusual ones like Rudolph and Nureyev and things like that. But I loved singing with Elton John. That was fun, and I loved the work with Don DeLuise and all of a sudden I'm blanked out.
Yeah, of course.
There's so many.
John Cleese, so all, but I enjoyed pretty much all of them.
I will say you mentioned.
Actually, I did enjoy all of them, but my situation is that, and everybody's situation is that none of us always got to work with all the celebrities. So there are some celebrities that I didn't work with that closely. I was just part of a group. Like Dizzy Gillespie. I would have loved to work with him some more, but I just happened that show to be part of a group, and other people work with Dizzy more.
Oh, sure. You mentioned Elton John, and that was one that actually we revisited recently. And the bit with Elton John and Miss Piggy singing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," which is fantastic, but the fact that the whole song, it's sung from start to finish. It's all one shot, one tight shot with the two of them, and it's very sincere and it's funny. But the fact that they don't cut away, they don't have any big gags in there. It's something that I don't think we would ever see on TV today, especially with the Muppets.
Yeah, it's not often. Actually, part of the reason it's so freaking exhausting holding that up that long.
Yeah.
But also, Elton. The idea of, and I call him Elton. I don't know him now after all these years, but just singing with him, you get this extraordinary energy coming out of him. This extraordinary, this power of his voice and his presence. But it was that time that song was a very popular number 2, 3, number 1 song of him and Kiki D singing this song. Is very popular, and so I sang the Kiki D part, and it just it really flowed nicely. I really had a great time.
And you sang that one live, is that correct?
Usually I don't sing live.
Right.
It's just too. But I'm trying to remember if I did or not then, because I know I did have some ad-libs, so I actually don't remember.
Did you ever find yourself in the recording studio singing like a Miss Piggy song or something like that? Not, puppet obviously not on your hand, and just kind of stop and think to yourself how ridiculous the situation is that you're singing this falsetto by yourself in a quiet room?
I probably should have, but I didn't. None of us actually did. Partly because we didn't think the characters themselves were silly. We all have, if we don't have a biography, we certainly feel very strongly what the depth of our characters are. So we never did, but it would make sense to witness.
Yeah. And actually the singing brings to mind just one of these Muppet nerd questions that we've always wondered about. At the end of Never Before, Never Again, Piggy has a very long, sustained high note. Was that all you? Was there any editing there? Did you really hold that note?
No, I didn't know that note. I'm not that good, though. I think we spliced together 2 long notes of mine.
Right.
Well, it's still impressive.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I'm not. I don't have that breath capability.
So we have a few questions about Miss Piggy. So a lot of people think that the character was a little bit too harsh to really like. Was that ever a concern of yours to try to keep her from crossing that line?
No, not a concern in the slightest. There actually are times, she was brought about during the Women's Lib movement, and it was a very intense time period for men and women. And Piggy underneath is really not that feminine, so she has to play coy. But sometimes, in order to protect who she is and who she, as a woman, who she'd like to be, she has to be tough. And women those days, and these days to a great degree, are not allowed to be tough. Societally, that's not something they're allowed to do. So, but Piggy's has a tremendous bravura, has a tremendous carriage about her, and if that element of her was lost, if she wasn't harsh, then she'd be a wallflower, and that's not her.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely seems like she's one of the most nuanced Muppet characters.
Yeah, and I never think about am I offending this people, or am I hitting the right audience, or I never think about that stuff. We just work hard and play.
Right. In the first season of the Muppet Show, you and Richard Hunt kind of tossed the character back and forth a little bit. Do you ever think about what she would be like if Richard had continued the character instead of you?
No, I haven't actually. I mean, she was. I do remember Richie doing it, and so he would have her own view. I think when a character, when a person wants to work more on a character, I think it's because of specifics. So I had some specifics that I felt would be fun to experiment with, and he was using more generic. There was no real specifics, so he understood that. He said, "Sure, go ahead, Frank."
So, got a couple of questions about Fozzie Bear.
Sure.
You mentioned in the documentary that Fozzie will. The key to Fozzie is that he'll never succeed, but he'll never stop trying, which I think is kind of fascinating. So the fact that he kind of has to be unfunny, what is the secret to making unfunny funny?
Well, that's such an interesting question, because that was the biggest question we had in the beginning, the beginning few shows, because, how do you laugh at somebody trying to be funny who's not funny? It's exactly the problem we had for the first few shows. And I think, Jim solved it so well by having Statler Waldorf heckle him, So we weren't relying on his comedy, but we were relying on how the two old men in the box reacted to his comedy, and that was funny.
Right, yeah.
And then you're rooting for him. You're not just feeling sorry for him.
Exactly. So, because by himself, the only humor that could come was him absolutely dying from a bad joke. That's where the only humor could come from.
Yeah, it's such an interesting character, because the reason that he's funny is that he's not funny.
Right. And the reason he touches people is because he truly will never give up, even though for him he's Sisyphus, He just keeps on rolling that ball up and down that hill, and also he's doing that while he's desperately insecure.
There's something slightly depressing about that, thinking of Fozzie rolling that ball up the hill for all eternity.
Not really. That's what each of us are doing for all eternity.
No, that's true. Yeah, good point.
Doing the best we can.
Yeah.
We all. I think the depressing part is that we didn't try to roll that ball at all.
That's true. That's a good point. So let me ask about Animal real quick. You talked about his two-dimensional aspect to his character. let's see, I've written down here the 5 words that define him are drums, sleep, food, sex, and pain, which is also hilarious and fascinating.
That's wonderful.
But the character is...
That's him.
Yeah, the character is so popular. Like, fans really flock to him. So how did you keep him from almost accidentally getting too much character development and getting a third dimension?
Well, that's what's happened in the past few years when I haven't done him. They've been, he's had too much dialogue. And, he is primitive. He's primeval. And he should always be monosyllabic or at least have very, very few words. So how I kept him that way is, I guess, how I keep all my characters in the pure form that I believe in. I guess it's just who I believe he is. I think he's just this crazed guy, but who also has a soft spot too.
Since your characters have obviously lived on for decades now, is there any fear in that of just them being stuck in time as opposed to being true to the original concept of the characters?
Would you ask that again, please?
Yeah, is there like a fear to the idea that they might be stuck in time, and unchanging, as opposed to I guess being interesting, changing characters that live on for now 40 plus years?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. It's something that I can't deal with now because I'm not doing it. But if I were doing it as a human being, I would. And Eric has a real big problem because he's being treated unfairly. He should have his own characters. He's very talented. But my characters, it's very hard for him to change and develop because he's at the same time trying to be true to who I created. So he's in a tough place. If I was continuing to do Piggy, I would absolutely be having her change and being affected by the environment, except for the very soul of her. That would never change. But the environment affects all of us, and I would welcome and relish that she changes as our world changes.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah.
Yeah. It also seems like different people have sort of different ideas of what the characters are or are supposed to be. So it must be hard from the performer standpoint and the creative standpoint to be consistent, but then also try to meet the fans' expectations as much as possible.
Well, because I haven't performed her for so long, it's not something I'm doing. But when I did it, I never ever thought about the fans' expectations. I never thought about any expectations. I just wanted to delve deeper and deeper into her character, and if the fans liked it, great. If they didn't, so be it. But I'm not there to please the fans, because how do I know what the fans want? How do I know what anybody wants, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, all I can do is dig deeper into her character and go where I'm interested to go and where I think it's funny.
That's interesting. So let me ask about Sam the Eagle. If you were performing him today, do you think that you would perform him as a Trump supporter?
Well, it's interesting. Sam, I think Sam might right now be a disenchanted Trump supporter.
That's interesting.
I think that jingoism probably would have had him flow with that direction. But I think there's also a hidden quality of him that would look at things and say, "Wait a second, that's not what I thought it would be." And Sam really is a different character to me. Jim and Jerry Jewell made him this patriotic character, and for me, he's a much different character than that. It's not about that at all. But that's how it was. They kept on writing it that way, and so I kept on saying, "Hey guys, I want to do a different Sam," but they thought he was funny this way, and so the real Sam never really came out.
Well, he seems to have started out as being more just concerned with what was moral and upright, and then he kind of went in that more patriotic direction later.
Right. Yeah, and it's really not patriotic. It's really morality and what his morality is. Yeah, it's really that.
I assume you have a little biography in your head of Sam the Eagle as well. Is that accurate?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Sam is, I think he's lost. He was lost, put it this way, and before he met the Muppets, his wife divorced him, and he was alone in the nest, and his daughter married an owl, which he could not accept, and his kids left him, his wife left him, and he's alone. And he's alone in the world, and he has a strong sense of his morality. His own morality, whether that's too rigid or not, is questionable. But he believes it. And so when he was wandering around, being lost, he noticed these freaking weirdos. And he felt it was his duty to try and bring them into his morality, which he felt was the right morality. And so that's why he's there, to make sure that these people he tries to get these people into the way he sees the world, which is healthy and wholesome. That's my Sam, and that's why he's there, out of loneliness, really.
Huh. It's interesting that a lot of the backstories for your characters come from a really sad place.
Yeah, they're pretty melancholy.
Well, if you look at comedians, there's a lot of sadness in history of comedians.
Yeah.
In order for something to be funny, in my opinion, it has to be serious first. It has to come from a serious place. If it came from a funny place, then you have funny upon funny, and it wouldn't be funny. I believe, one has to have really serious traits about a character, and then that character can be self-deluded, like Piggy, or that character can have obstacles. But in the beginning, and that's because of the funny. But in the beginning, if it's not serious, there's no real depth to it. There's nothing to make it funny. You can get superficial laughs, but I care more about the quality of the laughs than the amount of laughter.
Yeah, I think there's a real lesson in there for anyone who's trying to create a funny character.
Yeah, obviously works.
Yeah, I think if you create a funny character, if that's what you want, I think you're in real trouble. I think you'll never get it. I think that's my opinion, that you don't try for funny. You try for what is flawed and human, and certain traits that connect to people, and then put obstacles in the way, and then have certain feelings of loneliness or insecurity or whatever. And then on top of that, if you cover that, or like you cover with Piggy, then it's funny. Otherwise, if you just start making something funny, you're totally screwed.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Among your character's funniest moments are some of the talk show appearances that you've done over the years. Do you essentially go in with the goal of causing as much chaos as possible? And have you ever noticed that the host of some of those shows might seem a little bit annoyed?
I don't think they're annoyed. The answer is yes. I try to go in there and break things up. I don't. I ad-lib. I don't. I don't anymore. But all the dozens and dozens of talk shows I used to do, it was. I always had an idea in mind, an attitude, and that's all. Nothing written down ever.
Huh.
So I do like breaking things up. Absolutely, I remember one I enjoyed very much with Matt Lauer at Today's Show, and he had this Piggy, and she was extremely mad at him, wouldn't talk to him, and that really was kind of a nice beginning, because you expect people to say, "Hi, Matt, how are you?" And she was pissed, and then you get off. You start getting funny from there.
Yeah. And then the other ones that we love are Martha Stewart. You did a few of those as, I think, Miss Piggy and Cookie Monster, and that's where you can tell that she just doesn't know what to make of these characters.
Well, she's very smart. But she's a businesswoman. She doesn't have a sense of humor, but she has smart enough to know that her job is to just keep going forward, and then I can jump in and have little darts to
Yeah, that's how it comes across.
I love that. So some of your older characters, even like predating the Muppet Show characters, I found interesting, like Rufus the dog, who seemed like he was going to be maybe even your signature character, for a while there before other characters started popping up. Do you have any memories of playing him?
Oh, I sure do. And part of the reason I did Rufus is because I was scared to do voices. I didn't think I was very good at voices. So to me, that dog was a way to express myself without having to face the fear of doing voices. But yeah, no, I enjoyed Rufus was fun to do. It was great. I remember doing him for on the Valentine's show. I remember doing him on a special in New York. I remember. Anyway, yeah, I had a good time with him. It was fun.
Is there any particular reason he didn't carry over to later productions like The Muppet Show, or is there just a character turnover?
I think the lack of the ability to talk. I mean, you have to connect with other characters, and it's not as easy if someone doesn't connect verbally with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. And then you also did the costume character for LaChoy Dragon in the old commercials. Is that right?
Yeah, it is right. Yeah.
And I've read that you refused to ever do another full body Muppet after that. Is that also correct?
No, I actually did do a full body Muppet with Jerry Nelson in the Christmas special with Art Carney. I think it's then that I refused.
Gotcha.
I hate doing those costume things.
So even during the Muppet Show, when they would have a whole bunch of Muppet monsters around, you would say, "Nope, I'm going to be on the ground. Forget that."
No, it wasn't necessary. Jim knew I wouldn't do it. Jim knew ahead of time I hated it. It was just useless to ask me.
Well, that's good. That was nice of him. So then you've also we've noticed a few more characters in addition to the LaChoy Dragon that you performed, but you didn't perform the voice, like Ma Otter in Emmett Otter or Aughra in The Dark Crystal. Was that a bigger challenge for you to try to?
No, those two were different reasons. Ma Otter was Marilyn Sokol did the voice, the singing voice, because I certainly can't sing, and so in order for the Ma Otter's voice to match the singing voice, it had to be Marilyn Sokol doing the rest of it. So that was a necessity. I couldn't be Marilyn's voice singing, and then I'd be doing the voice. That wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
With Aughra, I was doing the Chamberlain, and I was doing Aughra, and by that time I was involved in so many characters. Jim and I both felt that somebody else should do the voice because it would be too close to the voices. The voices I would have for Aughra would be too close to some of the other characters I did. So that's when we had Billy Whitelaw, the great Billy Whitelaw, has passed, but she's a great actress, and she was Aughra.
And then speaking of Dark Crystal, so Jim obviously he had asked you to co-direct the movie with him, but until that time, although I'm sure you had been equals in many ways, he was still always your boss. What was it like collaborating with him on an equal level on that project?
Yeah, well, I was never equal with Jim. I always knew that Jim was the boss. He was the one who made the final decisions, but he never treated me like an employee. He treated me like a friend and a partner. Working with Jim was, he didn't care about credit. He cared about the quality of the project. So that's why he asked me to work with him, because he knew that I had a bit more ability in certain areas that he didn't. For instance, like blocking, or sometimes working with the actors and such like that. But although he certainly was able to do it, but also by the fact having me there, he could be involved in the much larger tasks of the story and everything else. So with me, it was great, but he could have fired me a couple of times.
Oh no!
At that time, I was still young enough to want to have a bit more attention, and the fact that Jim really was that main director, and I was really
So obviously it went well enough that he recommended you to direct Muppets Take Manhattan. So
we just had a really special relationship, and so he couldn't do it,
right,
and so I guess he felt it was time I could do it.
So was it weird being like directing the rest of the Muppet cast that you had obviously been working side by side with all this time, and now suddenly you have to be the boss and direct them?
Yeah, it was not weird. It was bad. You talk to Dave Gold. What happened was that when I was as the first movie I ever directed by myself, I felt I had to know everything, and of course that's stupid. But when you're a director and you're in charge of all these millions of dollars, you feel you've got to do everything yourself to make sure everything's right, and so that is ridiculously 180 degrees away from the truth. But nevertheless, I felt that, and I also knew the performers, what they could do, what they couldn't do, and I was hard on them. I was harder on them than I should have been, because I had all that pressure on me. I was the first time director and part writer on that, and also I performed about 4 or 5 of my characters. So I think, unfortunately, I was harder on those guys. And so if you talk to Dave Gold about it, he'd laugh about it now, how much he needed me.
That movie kind of has a different tone than the two that came before it. It's a little bit more down to earth, maybe grittier than the first two. Was that your approach, or what was your policy on your philosophy on that?
I think that's very perceptive, because nobody's ever seen that. But I feel I might have been too down to earth. What Jim did was extraordinary, and he was down to earth in his characters. But he was never really down to earth in the humor. The humor was a bit wilder, and mine was more grounded. So you're absolutely right. Muppet Take Manhattan was more grounded than the other stuff you've seen, and I felt, and some people love that, I felt it was a failure on my part, because it didn't have that kind of Muppet wildness to it. But nevertheless, it seems like it did okay.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, I think, it holds up as one of my favorite movies of all time. I think partially because it's so different from the other Muppet movies. I don't think I would want that as the new direction for the Muppets, moving forward from that point. But to kind of take a break from the chaos and show, they're like real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was, again, the human being I was, and to a degree still am. But as much as I can get lunatic, I also feel more grounded. I feel a story needs to be more grounded.
Sure.
Where Jim felt it wasn't necessarily the grounding was important. It was the entertainment and the Muppets wildness. So again, that was a lesson I learned, and but fortunately it turned out okay. And again, Jim gave me all his support.
And you're also credited as having rewritten the script. Do you remember what the script was like before you added your own touches to it?
The way it was written was more jokey and less grounded, and I felt it was too jokey and wasn't about their relationships. So there's another situation where I told Jim, in my opinion, I felt it was too jokey, too much just for the laughs, and not enough about the relationships and the characters themselves. So what I did in the rewrite is I made it more grounded for good or bad, and I had more focus on the relationships of the characters than just the jokes. So that's what I did.
Cool. Speaking of Muppet movies, we understand you wrote a script for the cheapest Muppet movie ever made. Can you tell us anything about that?
Right. Yeah, after Muppet Take Manhattan, we realized the economy of the sector was just getting, it was too expensive to make Muppet movies the way we've been doing it. It's just too expensive. So I said to Jim and Jerry, well, let's just tell the truth. Let's just say, it's too expensive. Let's just make the cheapest Muppet movie we can. So, and just admit it. And so Jerry Jewell wrote the cheapest Muppet movie, and I kind of worked with him as a but he was the writer, and Jim, and but that never came about. And then years later with Disney, I still love the idea, and I wrote it with Jim Lewis helping me, and but it turned out Disney just wanted the Jason Segel movie and just forgot about it and dubbed mine. So that's pretty much what happened.
That's a shame. We would love to see that.
Yeah, we'd still love to see it in some form.
Yeah, it would have been funny. It would have been really nice.
Yeah. Were there other projects that you ever worked on that didn't come into fruition?
With the Muppets?
Yeah.
Not really. Not really. I mean, the only thing that I can remember is, not the Muppets, but in the 1960s, before Sesame Street, Jim wanted to create a nightclub called Cycliga, which was not unlike at those times Electric Circus and things like that. But those are psychedelic nightclubs, and so he wanted to do that with about 16 projectors against the wall, against dancers and such, and projected against them. And so I shot reams and reams of 16 millimeter film for that, and then it just never got going, and that's the only one I can remember.
I know a lot of people can go see some of the video that I'm assuming it was the video that you shot at the Museum of the Moving Image right now, which is pretty exciting for us to see.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. That was my first venture into movie making, so that was a huge lesson for me.
And then the only other project I have written down that didn't end up happening that you were involved in was Pig of the 90s, which was going to be the Miss Piggy campaign right before Jim had passed.
Yeah, but that wasn't my project. That was a marketing project.
So you weren't really involved in the process.
That wasn't really a creative performance project. That was pure marketing.
Interesting. So at that point you were not really roped in. Gotcha. So we have a few questions for you that are really just more about you rather than the Muppets for a minute here.
Okay.
So you just joined Twitter. How are you liking it so far?
Well, I'm having a great time. I joined Twitter to let the people know about Muppet Guys Talking, because I never liked social media at all.
Sure.
But I joined Twitter just to do that, and it turns out I'm enjoying talking to the fans so much, I'm not even talking about Muppet Guys Talking.
We really appreciate it too, just because you've to have this quasi personal connection to you has been really exciting and important for the fans.
Oh, well, that's nice. I mean, I've been people have mentioned all the time, so many times about me writing a book, and I'm just too damn lazy. That's actually work. It's like doing a book report for high school,
Yeah.
But Twitter, I can just say little things here and there that I believe and remembrances, and that's not like writing a book. That's just kind of throwing stuff out. So I'm enjoying that.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great to get that insight.
Yeah. What kind of music do you listen to these days?
These days I don't listen to music. I used to listen to a tremendous amount of jazz. And when I was younger, I'd actually listen to Broadway show tunes. And then I'd listen to folk, in the folk era in the 60s and such. But and now it's very eclectic when I do listen. I like world music. Because there's much more vitality, I think, in the world music than United States music. But I don't really listen to music. Somehow I've taken a hiatus. I'm not quite sure why.
All right, that's fair. Do you have any favorite movies or favorite movies from recent years?
Oh my God! They're favorite movies in general. That list is ever elastic, because we'll say, "Oh yeah, these are my 10 favorite movies," and all of a sudden somebody will say, "What about this movie?" I'll say, "Oh yeah, of course that movie." And then somebody will say, "What about this movie?" Of course I forgot that movie. And it'll go on and on like that. So, but I'm not original. My favorite movie still is Citizen Kane. And Orson Welles is my favorite director. So I'm not original at all in my choices.
Is there maybe what was the last movie that you saw that really moved you or made you think?
Gosh, I know there's the black and white movie, the German movie from what was it? The Serpent. It was up for
I'm googling it.
We're googling.
Embrace of the Serpent.
Pardon?
Embrace of the Serpent.
Embrace of the Serpent, yeah.
All right.
Blew me away.
Google comes to the rescue.
Yeah, that blew me away. I think in some movies, I think the Phantom Thread I thought was stunning this year. I also thought the other one. Oh, of course, I loved Birdman tremendously. I mean, I could do this for the next 3 hours.
Okay,
right?
yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, and I remember this.
All right, maybe we'll do another interview sometime where you could just.
Yeah, another interview for 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Frank Oz on movies.
Yeah. Are you working on another project right now after Muppet Guys Talking?
Well, there's some stuff around. It's not the same as it used to be out in Hollywood, but there's some stuff around. But I don't like to talk about it because then I sound like every silly director talking about all his projects, and then all of a sudden they go away, and then you're embarrassed.
Fair enough. All right.
So I don't like to talk about it because they're not real. It's just talk right now.
All right.
We did want to mention both of us saw In and of Itself and enjoyed it greatly. That was a great show.
Oh, when did you see it? In LA or New York?
Yeah, in New York.
In New York here,
Yep.
yeah.
How long ago did you see it?
I saw it several months ago, maybe late last year.
And then I probably saw it about a month later than that.
Well, that's great. No, I'm very proud of that, and Derek's doing a stunning job, and it'll be probably about a year and 3 months before it closes. Because it closed in August, so that's a hell of a long run for an off-Broadway play.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
Remarkable that it keeps getting extended.
Yeah, it's incredible. I do want to.
It's great.
I do want to ask though. So after I saw the show, I hope this doesn't spoil anything, but I went looking for the brick, and it was not there. And it was not there, and I just wanted to let you know that I no longer believe in magic. Magic is not real.
Well, what happens is people take the brick.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
And actually, there's an online. Where is it? I'm not sure where. It's online somewhere about all the photos of the bricks. After the show.
I've seen that around. It's like a map.
And you found the brick, right?
Yeah, I did find the brick when I went. We had to take a bus uptown, but we found it.
Yeah, it depends on if people are going to share it with people or just take it home, I guess.
Yeah.
I will say the one nice thing was I ended up going with, just because people were walking from the theater, there was a few of us that were all kind of migrating together, and so we made some new friends that were all searching for the non-existent brick together.
Oh, that's nice, yeah. And that show really creates, that show-wide identity really opens people up a little bit to be a bit more open with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a really good experience.
Yeah. So just to start wrapping things up, looking forward, I know you've talked a lot about how you feel about the Muppets and the Sesame Street characters and the integrity of the characters and things like that. But in your opinion, if the Muppets are coming back with new projects, what would you like to see those be in an ideal world?
In an ideal world, I guess I just like them to be pure.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the projects are. Whatever the projects are, as long as they're pure in their characters and pure in their relationships, that's all that matters to me.
That's great. And then I know people probably asked you a million times if you'd ever come back, but if you did, and assuming you wouldn't want to perform again, those characters again, would you want to come back in a different aspect, maybe to write or direct?
No, I'd be happy to perform, but nobody asks me.
Huh.
Sesame Street doesn't ask me, and Disney doesn't ask me, so I'd be happy to come back and perform. Not all the time, because I'm a director now. I'm busy, but I used to perform a few days a year in Sesame Street. About 5 years ago, they stopped asking me, so that's why I don't perform.
Well, the 50th anniversary is coming up, so they should ask you back for something.
Yeah, well, it's the way it is, I mean, they want me for other things, but the idea of performing with the guys that's not something they want. And I understand because I'm more expensive than the people doing my characters, which I think is appropriate since I
Sure.
Yeah, well, especially for something like the 50th anniversary, it seems to me like it could be well worth the additional cost. All right, and just to wrap things up, do you have a message that you'd like to give to our readers, to your fans out there before we say goodbye?
Well, only that I'm just absolutely amazed and thrilled that after all these years, people still love the characters. I mean, that just makes me and all of us feel so good. So I'm just, I thank you for just nurturing this, because that's what's important to all of us, just characters and the relationships between the characters. So, I just basically say thank you.
Well, and thank you again for talking to us, for making this amazing movie.
And just for all the great stuff over the years.
Absolutely. And
thank you so much, guys. Can I do my sell piece here? Can I sell a used car?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I sell my Brooklyn Bridge? Because Muppet Guys Talking is not at Netflix and not on HBO and it is not on DVDs and it's nowhere else. Could you just mention that the only place you can get it is at MuppetGuysTalking.com. That's our own site, MuppetGuysTalking.com, because we wanted to have a more personal relationship with the fans as opposed to having a big company between us. So MuppetGuysTalking.com is the only place you can get it.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of readers who are very excited about it. So
yes, and we'll make sure everyone knows about the website. Make sure everyone sees the movie. And we can't wait to hear what everyone thinks about it. I think everyone's really going to love it.
Well, thank you guys for hanging in there for so many years and supporting it. I mean, I think it's a testament to the purity of the characters myself. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Frank.
yeah.